Create your Evergreen webinar. So why do you need a webinar? An Evergreen sales funnel requires a webinar. A series of emails is not enough to convert a cold lead into a buyer. A webinar is that perfect combination of telling your story, providing value, and teaching, and then making your offer at the end. Although there are things like video series, challenges, or mini courses, nothing converts as consistently as a webinar. In addition, your Evergreen webinar becomes your signature lead magnet. You drive all new leads and traffic there to ultimately fill your funnel. Forget a zillion lead magnets and just focus on getting butts and seats into your webinar. Only if your offer is less than $97, you can create a funnel without a webinar. Anything over $97 or a membership offer, even if it's less than $97 a month, should use a webinar-based formula. Evergreen webinar format. An Evergreen webinar follows the same formats as your live launch webinar. You will open up the class, introduce yourself and a bit of your story, move into teaching, and lastly, make your offer. The one big difference between live and Evergreen is that there is no chit-chat. Do not use a recording from a live webinar as your Evergreen webinar. It comes off as disingenuous to say, "Hey, Susie from Chicago," when it's a pre-recorded class. People will see right through that. Take your webinar slides and script and record the Evergreen webinar solo. Jump right into the content and keep it engaging with great slides and a fun, lighthearted vibe. How to record. To record your Evergreen webinar, I like using Zoom. Start a meeting, participants more, lock meeting, share screen, select your slides that you have up, record to computer, deliver your awesome slides. Once finished, click stop recording and end meeting. Your video recording will compress and save, then automatically open in a new folder on your computer. Zoom will record your main screen, but with a little circle with your head in the corner. I like this setup because having your face in the corner personalizes the webinar experience and creates that connection. Once complete, you'll now have your Evergreen webinar video file, which you can upload to Vimeo or another video hosting service to later embed on your webinar watch page. Note, I have created a webinar outline for you to read. It tells you what to include in each steps of a live and Evergreen webinar. 11 tips to make more sales on your webinar. Number 1, add urgency. It's human nature that we put off making a buying decision unless there's a reason to do it now. Think about when you go shopping at Gap for jeans. If the jeans are full price, you're more likely to think about it and walk out of the store empty-handed. But if those jeans are 40% off, or if you get a free top with the purchase of the jeans, or if they are the last pair and they are a discounted model that they won't have in stock anymore, well, you're way more likely to be snapping up those jeans, right? You want to insert that same kind of urgency in your webinar so that your participants are encouraged to make a buying decision. Urgency can be applied by using doors closing, have an open cart and closed cart period so that your participants know that they will have to wait for the opportunity to join if they don't buy now. Price. Reduce the price of your product if people buy within a given time frame. Bonuses. Have extra special bonuses that disappear if people don't buy within the given time frame. Fast action bonuses. Use these specifically for people on the live webinar. You can have a countdown timer at the end of the webinar for 15 minutes to encourage people to buy within that time. Number 2, use real-life examples. The most effective webinar scripts begin with a personal story. I used to be so annoyed about X problem, but then I found X product or solution. The more that you can weave in not just your own story into the webinar, but stories of others that you have worked with, students, clients, etc., the better. Can you make an analogy or use a metaphor to describe a problem or belief that your audience has? Doing so can really help them better visualize and understand the problem. For example, an analogy is often used in the pitching part of a webinar to get the audience to understand the difference between trying to solve the problem on their own versus using your program product as a fast way to track their success. The analogy that you can use to show this fast tracking to success, trying to put it together a piece of IKEA furniture without an instruction book. No pictures, text, nothing, just a pile of pieces. as compared to somebody who has the full instruction book and all of the tools that they need to complete the job right in front of them. Obviously, one is going to get the best results, the built piece of furniture, way faster with more ease, right? It's the same with your offer. The clients who purchase are going to get the results a lot faster because you are giving them the instruction book and all the tools that they need. Number 3, be concise. This is so hard because you have so much knowledge and want to share all the things. The best webinars are the ones that are clear, concise, and to the point. They don't overwhelm the audience and they don't ramble. People have short attention spans. Create your slides to cater to that. Talk like you. Don't get all formal just because you're presenting some slides. Be informal. Use your regular, everyday language. Let your quirks and humor shine through. The more you can show off your personality, the more people will connect to you. If you come off as condescending, monotone, or boring, no one is going to be staying till the end. Think about engaging your audience in the same way that a movie producer or a playwright might. Use that same kind of theatrical storytelling to keep your audience on the edge of their seats. Think about your webinar script as having a beginning, middle, and end with a little bit of suspense. Number 6, choose a good time. You want to choose a date and time that you think your audience will be able to actually show up. It's a lot easier to make the sale live than relying on the replay. This is going to defer your audience in business hype. But generally speaking, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays are the best days of the week for live webinars. Just before or after lunchtime tend to work really well. Number 7, send captivating emails before the webinar. You want people to show up live to your webinar, not just plan to catch the replay. Live participants are more likely to convert into buyers. Aim for a 40% show up rate, which is higher than the industry standard. You want to send a few emails before the webinar to everyone that has registered. Send 3 to 5 emails in the days leading up. What to do in these emails. Remind them of the content that they're going to cover on the webinar and what they will learn. Your own story or part of your story that highlights the transformation that your product offers. A few testimonials or case studies of previous students and clients. On the day of the webinar, send 2 emails, one in the morning and one 30 to 60 minutes before the webinar is going to start with a link to join. Number 8, start inviting 7 days in advance. Don't give yourself too much runway with the webinar. If someone signs up to something 3 weeks out, the likelihood of them showing up live is pretty slim. The excitement period has passed. 7 days is a sweet spot for webinars. It's fresh for people, the excitement is high, and you can keep the energy up until the live event. Number 9, send a webinar workbook with blanks. One way to encourage people to show up live to your webinar is to send them a workbook that they can use during your webinar. You want to leave some sections blank so that they need to fill it in with the answers during the webinar. This gives them a preview of what you're going to cover and makes them want to attend so that they can find out the answers. This doesn't have to be complicated. A 3 to 5 page workbook that you can create in Canva is perfect. Number 10, show your face. Webinars will convert better if you show up on camera. It helps to build that connection and trust with your audience. You can do a split screen when presenting your slides where your face is in the corner, or do slides only. But when you are answering questions at the end of the webinar, take the slides down and show your face. Number 11, don't get distracted by the comments. It's great to have the chat feature in our webinars, but don't let it distract you. Ask questions when you are first logging on, where people are joining from, and what they hope to learn in the webinar, etc., and engage with the chat at that time. But while you are delivering your slides, don't look at the chat. It can be really distracting, throw off your script, and possibly lead you down a tangent. Let your participants know that you'll get to all of the questions at the end of the webinar during the Q&A section. No, when it comes to Evergreen webinars, they'll sign up and get the link to the webinar that you recorded without being live. Create your webinar slides. There are several webinar templates that you can purchase on Etsy. Just make sure you can get it on Canva.